I wonder how a fascist would actually make the movie of Snow White. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, they didn't do it right." How would you fucking make it? I mean, 1937 version was pretty. It was pretty crappy. Was it falsetto? Snow White was singing in that falsetto voice. It was pretty awful. I mean, I guess the only way, if you don't want to modernize something, then you want to regress, right? You want to take it back. So would the fascist version of Snow White be an originalist version? Because I got a bunch of notes here, and I'm going to just talk about the original Snow White. You know, this is a grim fairy tale. Do you know anything about grim fairy tales? If you're going to be more conservative when it came to Snow White, would you have the queen dance in red hot iron boots until she dies? That's how the original Grimm's fairy tale had the queen die. They made her wear iron boots that they put in the coals, in the fire coals, the coals that were burning. They put the iron boots in the coals that were burning, made it iron hot, and then they made her wear the iron boots, and then they made her dance in the red hot iron boots until she died. Some of the crazy things about the original version, the jealousy of the queen makes no damn sense. She has a murderous, jealous rage of a 7-year-old. And in some versions, it's the own mother. It's not the stepmother, it's her actual own mother. She pricked herself and their blood went into the snow, and she said she wanted to have a child with the skin as white as snow and the lips as red as blood and the hair as black as ebony, which I thought ebony is black. Is that wood, like mahogany? The prince does not kiss Sleeping Snow White. That happens in Sleeping Beauty. But there is a part where the prince is carrying the Snow White in a glass coffin all around. The whole idea of the glass coffin seems crazy. The 7 dwarves put her in a glass coffin, and then the prince says, I gotta have Snow White in a glass coffin. I'll pay for it. And then they said, no amount of gold. So he just carries it around until eventually a servant punches the back of Snow White, and then she coughs up the poisoned apple and then punched her in the back. Would you make sure you put that part? And then would you also make sure when the queen sends the huntsman out to go kill the 7-year-old girl, which, what kind of hunter? Well, the queen says, I gotta kill, you. Sorry, little kid. I mean, that's like Netanyahu shit, right? That's like the Yain Fuhrer. Yain Fuhrer Netanyahu says, hey, you got to pay. Hey, America, pay me $7 billion and I'm going to go get rid of this 7-year-old. I'm going to get rid of 400,000 7-year-olds. Not only is that part crazy, but the queen asked for the hunter to bring back Snow White's liver and her lung. Her lungs and her liver so she can eat it. The mirror says, who's the fairest of them all? Fairest only means beauty in this sense, because it definitely doesn't mean just. It definitely doesn't mean fair and balanced and fair and square and even-handed and just. And then the hunter, instead of bringing back the liver and the lungs of Snow White because he has pity on her and lets her run off into the woods, he's going to bring back a boar's, a pig's lung and liver. He's going to bring back a pig's lung and liver, and the queen is going to put salt on it and then eat it. Would you put that part in it too? Is that what a fascist Snow White would look like? Because to be honest with you, this whole thing makes no fucking sense whatsoever. It makes no sense. Why do fascist motherfuckers hate Rachel Zegler so much? Why is there so much hatred for Snow White? It's like they know that Snow White is going to be the main movie of the summer, and so they just want to shit on somebody who got themselves a good role. Gadot got $3 million, and Rachel Zegler only got $1 million. Gal Gadot, she got $3 million, and then not only do they want to fucking take Palestine, but she wants that star, right? the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She wants to take more land than what she deserves. But all that hatred with Rachel Zegler, all those people that have a hate Rachel Zegler and Snow White YouTube video out there, they use all the imagery. They make sure they show a picture of Rachel Zegler, and they put all the pictures of, Snow White, the still shots. So it's like they're using Snow White and all the images while saying to hate them. It's like the guy that bought the ticket to walk out. For 2 years, he's talking about how he hates Snow White, and then he bought the fucking ticket. Politically, I almost think that I should just fucking go just because of all the hatred, just to push back on all the hatred. Lucy Gray is actually based upon a poem from William Wordsworth. I bet you didn't know that. Lucy Gray is based upon a poem of William Wordsworth. You didn't know that shit, Mr. Dowdy Mustafa? So it's kind of live and let live, isn't it? Why would people hate Rachel Zegler so damn much and Snow White? So a dumb movie was fucking put out there. Who gives a shit? Why do you care so fucking much? Are we saying that is Ethan Klein Snow White? Is that why there's so much unnecessary fucking hatred? It's like c'est la vie. C'est la vie, Just fast forward, move on with your life. When I look at all the other movies, I got a little list of all the other movies that are out there. There's a movie out there called Black Bag. You hate that movie? You hate the actors in Black Bag? What about Alto Knights? There's a couple cartoons out there, right? The day the Earth blew up. So instead of having live action, we're just going to have cartoons. Paddington in Peru. Anybody mad at Paddington Bear in Peru? What the hell's he doing? There's also a fake Last Supper. You're going to have The Chosen is going to do like a 3-part series of The Last Supper. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. So I guess they're not doing a mini-series. Is this how they've always done it? 3 1.5-hour version, so just kind of, 4 hours? 4 hours of The Last Supper? Is this what we've been waiting all year for? Now, Magazine Dreams, that acting looks really good. Magazine Dreams, Ash, Eefs, E-E-P-H-S, Eefs. What the fuck is Eefs? How come none of you motherfuckers are pissed off at Ash and Eefs and Magazine Dreams? The day the Earth blew up. How woke is this shit? Mufasa, Novocaine, Mickey 17. Do you even know anything about Mickey 17? A Working Man, that looks good. How about The Woman in the Yard? How about just having a very boring title? There's one, The Last Breath. That's kind of exciting, but The Woman in the Yard? Hey, is that a woman? It sure is. Is she in the yard? She sure is. Holy shit. Let me go get my army. My Swiss Army knife. Death of a Unicorn. Talk about a stupid fucking movie. That Death of a Unicorn looks stupid as shit. So instead of modernizing old movies, we're going to have Death of a fucking Unicorn. And there's nobody hating this at all. Everybody's cool with Death of a Unicorn. I saw the previews to it. It looked terrible. And even though we got The Chosen, Last Supper Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 coming up within 1 week. So I think the 28th is the Part 1 and Part 2, and then a week after that, Part 3. There's another, fake The Last Supper. Somebody else went ahead and did The Last Supper real fast. So you'll go to the theaters thinking it's The Chosen. It's not. Is it even going to be that good? And then people say, that's the greatest story ever told. That's the greatest story ever told, huh? Moses is better than Jesus in terms of stories. And really, Superman is better than both of them. I don't know, Moses is pretty fucking remarkable, to be honest with you. But let's see, Opus, Novocaine, Mufasa, A Working Man, Woman in the Yard, Death of a Unicorn. What about where is From Ground Zero or No Other Land? These are movies about Palestine, right? Where is From Ground Zero? From Ground Zero or No Other Land? How come we're not allowed to fucking see these movies? If you have a theater that's showing No Other Land or From Ground Zero or that other, war movie that the BBC is censoring, why don't they want us to know the truth? So it makes no damn sense. It's like people hating on Ethan Klein. It's like, why the fuck is Ethan Klein so goddamn important in your all's lives that you're like, you know what? I need to take him down a peg. I need to spend the next 3 weeks to fucking make a video to take Ethan Klein down a peg. I just know what it looks like, what it looks like to bully somebody. So I don't like people bullying people, and so I don't like people bullying Rachel Zegler. Let's get into the notes, huh? Let's get into the notes. So what do we have here? Snow White. You want to get to the original version of Snow White? You want a better version of Snow White? I don't know what I would have done. Would you have actually used real dwarves? I mean, maybe gives you some opportunity, but then that Peter Dinklage had said some shit that said that he didn't like it. Snow White is a Grimm fairy tale. Grimm is Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. They're brothers. They also wrote the German dictionary. So they pushed the German language very hard. And what is German? English is a Germanic language. It's in the same goddamn fucking category. And then when it comes to Grimm fairy tales, you got to understand that these are stories that were told before radio, before television, before movies. It was where you just had to write a story down and then you just share the stories with each other. So that's the written word. You had to have the written word, just had to be popping. It had to be popping. It had to have, not just dwarves, but maybe a couple trolls, a couple fairies, maybe a dragon or two. You got to have some jealousy, right? You got to have some inter-family rivalry. So should we just talk about the basic story? I mean, the basic story isn't really that exciting, right? A queen wants a child. She has a child, and then some say, well, we'll make it a stepmother. But the mother dies, and that's just like Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft is going to die. She's the one that wrote In Defense of Womanhood or Vindication of the Rights of Woman. She's going to die in childbirth. And then that's going to give birth to Mary Shelley, who's going to write Frankenstein. So you have Snow White, who's born, her mother's dead, and the father is going to marry a stepmother, and the stepmother is going to hate Snow White. Her skin is supposed to be as white as snow, and her lips are supposed to be as red as blood. How many of you motherfuckers are pissed off that they didn't pick a person that's got blood red lips? Nobody's got blood red lips unless you put some fucking lipstick on. And then hell, maybe we should start doing whiteface, And then black as an ebony wood frame. It's like, use your imagination. So the main story doesn't even make sense, and it doesn't even make sense why Snow White would be so damn naive, She gets kicked out of the house because the queen's trying to kill her. She goes to live with the 7 dwarfs, and the 7 dwarfs says don't trust anybody, but she trusts one old lady who has a corset, who wants to try on a corset with her, and then she about chokes and kills her, and then another one who gives her a poison comb, and then she comes back, and Snow White trusts her again. 3 times. Don't answer the fucking door, Snow White. That makes no sense, you asshole. So, all right. So she looks at this mirror. I mean, all these things are all these sort of literary devices. She's talking to a mirror that talks back. Have you ever talked to a mirror that talks back? So in some respects, it's like 100 years ago. So it's like old as shit, but then it's like more modern today. We don't have mirrors today. But hell, I bet you some of you fascist fucks need to look in a mirror so you can realize how dark and ironclad your soul is. Harden your heart. You have to have a heart to begin with in order to harden it. The hunter is going to take Snow White out to kill her, lets her run away and says, I will kill her anyway. That's just like Moses. That's what Pharaoh did with Moses. She stays with the 7 dwarves, and then the queen disguises herself as an old lady, brings a poison apple, Snow White eats it. Then the dwarves push the queen over a cliff, and then the princess kiss wakes Snow White up, and then there you go. That's the end of the original version. I want to see what a conservative version of Snow White would be. Would you do the same thing as 1937? Would you do the same thing as 1937, or would you make it originalist? Because that damn prince carrying a coffin of Snow White around, a glass coffin, not knowing if she's alive or not. And can you not tell that she's breathing? I mean, I guess times were weird back then, but makes me think of George Washington. George Washington, he had a note that says, hey, I'm not dead, don't bury me alive. Edgar Allan Poe had this story, The House of Usher, where he buried his sister while she was still alive. So I guess that's apparently something that happens. Well, she ate a poisoned apple. It looks like she's dead. Well, she's still breathing. What are you barking at? Huh? Trying to go over these notes. These fascists need to look themselves in the mirror. I want to know who tells the truth today. I've never seen a damn magic mirror. And that magic mirror tells some hard truth. One point it says, she says, who's the fairest of them all? And then the magic mirror says, Snow White is. Snow White is 1,000 times more fair than you. 1,000 times? Alexander Supertramp, he says, more than anything, give me the truth. More than anything, give me truth. So who would be the truth teller today? We live in the post-truth era. So do we believe in Amy Goodman, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, Mao, Trotsky, Lenin, Toussaint Louverture, Dessalines, Henry Christophe, Pétion? Pétion's constitution was more closer to a republic. Macklemore, Jackson Hinckley, Francesca Zeteo, Mehdi Hassan, Crispus Attucks, Thomas Paine. Frankenstein, is there some truth in Frankenstein? The mother dies in childbirth, just like Mary Wollstonecraft did. And it would be even more fucked up if the mother says, I want this beautiful baby, and then the beautiful baby, she wasn't fair until she turned 7. And then once she turned 7, then it's like, she's more fair than you. I'll kill her. So the mother wanted a child, and then as soon as she gets one, then she wants to have it killed. Like I said, we'll make it the stepmother, but... And is it Snow White or Snowdrop? And then there's Snow White and Red Rose, which that has nothing to do with the Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Are you going to add Red Rose character? Are you going to do exactly what the animation did back in 1937? Because that movie sucked. That movie's terrible. I cannot watch Snow White again today. I would never watch Snow White ever again. I will never watch Snow White for the rest of my life. I'm sure back in 1937 it was groundbreaking stuff. She's too docile. I think the change of having the prince kiss Snow White, but after she had consented to it. So saying, you know, if I ever do pass out, I don't know exactly how she consented to it, but it's saying something like, hey, dwarves, if I ever do eat a poisoned apple and I pass out and I'm under some sort of spell, I would just love it if a prince would come and kiss me and break me out of this spell. It kind of makes me think of Mary Magdalene and Jesus. Jesus that says, all right, Mary Magdalene, you're mine. You're mine. So she was mad. She was losing her mind. But as soon as Jesus claimed her, then she wasn't so damn crazy. I think it's better to have Snow White consent to the Prince Charming. Or is that, again, Sleeping Beauty? So it is weird as fuck that the queen is going to eat the boar's lungs and the liver with salt but no pepper. She thought that they were Snow Whites. It's one thing to want to execute your stepdaughter, but it's a whole nother thing to fucking eat her liver and eat her lungs. That's a whole nother level of evil I don't understand. That makes me think of that Native American, I think Cherokee or Chickasaw, Chief Doublehead. They asked him what he thought of white people, and he said, too salty. Too salty. Why? Because apparently Caucasians eat too much salt in their diet. Why do we have glass coffins? That doesn't make any sense. Didn't he like bury himself in a glass coffin of some sort? Belladonna, Red Hot Iron Shoes, Snowdrop. Would you call her Snow White or Snowdrop? Because some people say it's not Snow White, but Snowdrop. Or if you want to use the original German, right, because it's all German, Sneewittchen. So is that what the fascist conservatives would do? They would open up Sneewittchen. Let's go see Sneewittchen. The king is going to remarry a brand new queen. So that's just like Harry, right? You had, wonderful Diana, and now you got Camilla. So you could have had this incredible queen. Now you got fucking Camilla. Talk about demotion. Talk about a step down. And clearly, the magic mirror is not saying that she's the fairest, meaning that she's good and just and honest and no, just pretty. That's it. So when it comes to, Grimm's fairy tales, Snow White is a Grimm fairy tale. That's no Hans Christian Andersen. That's not some fluffy fluff fairy tale. And then the princess and the king and da-da-da-da-da slays the dragon, and then they lived happily ever after. I wouldn't mind actually seeing the queen have to dance in red hot iron shoes. If the queen had to dance in red hot iron shoes until she died, what does that even look like? She would just dance until her legs disintegrated. It makes me think of that one fucking gif where the guy's just typing and typing until he's got no arms. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most fairest of them all? While you are pretty fair, while you're pretty, you wicked queen, you, Snow White is 1,000 times more fairer than you. Holy shit. That's some hard truth right there. Two of my favorite Grimm's fairy tales is the 3 warnings of death. I forget the exact thing, but it was like, I sent you sleep, I sent you sickness. How did you not know death was on its way? Death's messengers. That's one of my favorite Grimm's fairy tales, Death's messengers. And then also there was something about be careful with play. They were just playing slaughter the pig, but they actually picked one of the kids to be the pig, and they ended up actually slaughtering them. And then when it came to Cinderella, you know how the ending of Cinderella happened? It wasn't she lived happily ever after. You had the stepsisters that was going to the wedding, and fucking birds gouged out the first stepsister's eyes as they was going to the wedding, and then as the other one was walking away from the wedding, birds gouged out her eyes. I don't understand the importance of going there, coming or going, but I like the sentence structure. She finds a cottage with 7 dwarves or miners. She uses all their stuff, so it's kind of like, what's that one? The 3 Bears. It's not Alice and the 3 Bears, but Goldilocks. Then she sleeps in the 7th bed. The dwarves are like, somebody broke in here, but then they pity her. They let her stay as long as she stays a housemaid. She is a guest in their house, right? Hey, I'll just clean up after you guys. So she's like worth her weight in gold. It does seem fucked up that the servant's going to punch her in the back and that spits it out. But what the fuck is up with this prince? This prince is going to carry, even if a person is beautiful, she still has, ruby red rose cheeks. So maybe they suspected she was still alive. Because if he's just carrying around a corpse, somebody he thought was dead, that's super fucked up. I mean, that's necrophilia? And we got some history of necrophilia. Gilles de Reyes. Gilles de Reyes was into necrophilia. King Herod, the rape of Nan King. There is some necrophilia going on there. Jimmy Savile, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy. So Prince Charming is like Jeffrey Dahmer. Jimmy Savile, Ted Bundy, the rape of Nan King, King Herod, Gilles de Reyes. Would the fucking conservative fascists, would they keep Prince Charming like Gilles de Reyes? Would they keep that the same? Like for that to be, changed. Now in the story, she is 7 years old when she gets kicked out, but when she's staying with the 7 dwarfs, she grows up into womanhood. So it's kind of like Simba in the jungle with Timon and Pumbaa. The old peddler sells Snow White a laced bodice, and then the queen laces the bodice too tightly. Snow White passes out. Then she dresses up like a comb seller. Hey, I got this really nice comb. I got this really nice. Talk about vanity. Talk about a bunch of superficial shit. I mean, do the fascists actually think Rachel Zegler is Ethan Klein? Ethan Klein is not Rachel Zegler, and Rachel Zegler is not Ethan Klein. Ben Dixon, is that somebody who's honest? John Adams? Fetterman? Get the fuck out of here. Fucking fat ass. Fuck Fetterman. We don't have too many honest people. No, Vaughn dead. Gilgamesh, Enkidu, John Stewart, Desi Lydic, Mike Costa, Francesca Fiorentini, Ben Dixon, John Adams. The poison apple, that's got an Adam and Eve reference. The poison apple is going to put Snow White into a coma, just like Navalny went into a coma when Putin gave him that Novichok. Gilgamesh, Enkidu. Enkidu was a wild man created by the gods. The prince finds Snow White in a glass coffin and takes her to his castle. And he's carrying her everywhere she goes. And a servant got jealous and punches Snow White in the back. And then she spits up a piece of the poison apple, and then that saves her. So the science of that isn't very good. And that's not romantic. That is the least romantic story I've ever heard in my life. That's not like Romeo and Juliet. That's not like Bonnie and Clyde. I mean, that's a partnership, right? That's some badasses right there next to each other. Who was that one woman? That bank lady. What was this? The media mogul. Anyways, not John and Abigail Adams either. John and Abigail Adams. What about Alec Baldwin? He got dressed down by his wife. Will Smith, that's a terrible romance too. So clearly this is not John or Abigail Adams. This ain't Bonnie and Clyde and Romeo and Juliet. The queen is going to go to the wedding and then sow some chaos and then try to kill her again. So they're going to put her, the iron slippers on her, red hot iron slippers, and then she dances until she dies. And then that's it. So that's a fun image of thinking how a bad guy is going to die. But why not union? Why not solidarity? Why can't the queen be kind to this daughter? And then they could, take over the world. It's like Napoleon and Toussaint. When it comes to being what is fair and balanced, fair and square, unbiased, impartial, even-handed. When it comes to a judge, you need to be fair. The most fairest person in the world should be a judge. Somebody said that Snow White, I want to say Grimm's fairy tales, was as beautiful as the light of day. That makes me think of Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? The huntsman thought that the wild animals was going to kill her anyways. It makes me think of Pharaoh Ramses and Moses. Then they put her in a glass coffin and they put her by a mountain, and then an owl and a raven and a dove is going to go visit her. And she eats the lungs and the liver without any pepper or Italian seasoning or garlic or Cajun seasoning. It's not drizzled in caramel. It's not General Tso's chicken. It's not Chinese food. And why is marriage happily ever after? Miners are looking for gold. They go over 7 mountains to 7 dwarves. The marriage could be a source of depression and misery too. And then they got married and lived happily ever after. Or not. Then they got married and realized that they were not made for each other, and there was just violence and terrible, and they felt like they couldn't get out of the damn marriage because of society's expectations and institutions. And then they got married, and that was the onset of their downfall. Now that would be an ending right there. Cinderella, even though the wicked stepsisters got punished, there was no punishment for the wicked queen. Why is that? Why didn't the wicked queen get punished? When Snow White was running through the woods, she ran and tripped over a bunch of rocks, and she ran through a bunch of sticker bushes, and then eventually runs into the cottage of dwarves, and everything was tiny. She probably thought it was just like perfect for her. But then after the 2 doves gouge out the eyes of the wicked stepsisters, and the wicked stepsisters are left to wander the world just like Cain. So is she a corpse? She has, rosy red cheeks. But the 7 dwarves, they mourned her for 3 days. They put her in a coffin. They made sure a dwarf was protecting the glass coffin that had Snow White in it. An owl and a raven and a dove is going to visit Snow White. And even though Rachel Zegler is pretty, I think that Olivia Rodrigo she's more fair. Isn't Olivia Rodrigo the fairest one of all? But then that one Obama, what's her name? It's not Sasha, Malia, right? Or is it Sasha? It's either Sasha or Malia. She's pretty fair. Francesca's pretty fair. Who's the fairest one of all? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who do you think is the fairest one of all today, huh? The prince wanted Snow White in the glass coffin. He says to the dwarves, "Give me that Snow White in the glass coffin." And they said that they wouldn't sell it to her for all the gold in the world. And he was like, "Well, then give it to me." And then they said, "Okay." They wouldn't sell it, but they would give it away for free. Now, the prince did promise to honor and respect her as the most cherished, his most prized possession. I will always honor and respect her as my most prized possession. I don't know. I'll probably take all the gold in the world. Gal Gadot is 39 years old. She's almost an old maid, right? She's just going to be menopausal. So Rachel Zegler's 23. So, I mean, she still has another 20 years of fertility. She still has another 20 years of fertility. The 7 dwarves were looking for gold. Over 7 mountains to 7 dwarves. She was made to dance the night away. It'd be nice to take the people that have done me wrong and force them to wear red hot iron boots and then dance until they fucking die. Now you dance and dance. Isn't that like Spider? Like Joe Pesci? Now you dance. You shoot a bunch of bullets on the bottom. I want to see you dance. The prince is going to spend the night with the dwarves. The way Putin had poisoned Navalny, he rubbed Novichok. That was the poison that Putin used to kill Navalny. He took Novichok and he smeared it all over his underwear. So, in a way, Navalny would be Snow White, and then the wicked queen would be Putin. And hell, we're on wicked Putin's side now, right? America's on the side of the wicked queen. And then Navalny is just dead. He's only been dead for a year, and nobody talks about him. Nobody says a damn word. and then that's it. So the hatred makes no damn sense. It's a grim fairy tale, so the original version is, a lot darker. Maybe it'd be more interesting. Maybe it'd be more interesting just to do a Grimm's fairy tale as precisely as possible. Don't modernize it, right? And then this is just Disney trying to soak up the gravy, right? They have all these classics and they made a ton of money off of it, so now they're doing all these live action versions. And some of them might work. I was going to check out a couple of them soon, but that might not work, right? I mean, we're a different age, we're different people, so we can't come up with our own stories. And then what about the revolution? All the revolutions, like Disney. What's the Disney version of the Cuban and the American Revolution? What's the Disney version of the Russian Revolution and the Chinese Revolution, the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution, and hell, every country in the world had a revolution. What about the Mexican Revolution, the Canadian Revolution? The British had a glorious revolution. Bolivia had a revolution. Egypt's had like 3 or 4 revolutions. So why don't they do, some goddamn movies about revolutions? When I think about what makes movies work today, I like Mojo put out some incredible stuff about movies that had the most accurate historical moments. So a movie depiction of what actually happened, if they do it, top notch, exactly as it had happened, with a little bit of flair, but basically the dialogue, the movements, the whole thing, that's going to be immortal because that really fucking happened. I think that's the future of movies. When I think of what D-Day, that movie D-Day and Harriet. So the hatred against Rachel Zegler makes no damn sense. If the fascists want to not just go back to 1937, but go back to 1812, do the 1812 Snow White. Don't be just conservative. Don't just conserve the status quo. Be regressive. I mean, you think you could just hold the line and just stay there? You either got to keep moving forward, ever, always perfecting, always progressing, or go the fuck backwards. You think you're going to just stand still and then we're all just supposed to stand still along with you? That's why I feel like anybody who's not a progressive, you're a regressive. Just thinking that you could just stay right there and everything's going to stay the fucking same. Nothing stays the same. If you're in construction, you got to build a new house. If you're in the restaurant business, you got to build, create more food for the new fucking customers. It's all changing. Everybody, there's people born, people die. There's the seasons, there's the years. Change is inevitable. You got to at least change enough to keep up with the change. So you at least have to be an incremental progressive. But for you motherfuckers who aren't even incremental progressive, I don't think there's any fucking hope for you assholes. Keep it all the same, always, forever. Fuck you. I wish I could afford. I would love to go see Rachel Zegler and Snow White. That would be fun. That'd be a ton of fun. Peace. Peace.